What's up, everybody? It's your boy Joshua Freeman. Welcome to another episode of the Infusion Breakdown Show. As always, to my left, I got Mr. Bryan Carey. To my right, I got Mr. Desmond Tillmon. And today, we got a special guest, Miss Leigh Ann and Mr. Matt. How's everybody doing today?
I'm doing well.
Great.
Excellent.
How are you?
Well.
I'm good. Everybody's week been good?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, yesterday
Relaxing.
I had an opportunity to check out some of Matt's work at an exhibition last night, which I was actually looking for some of his other work because he also has designed sneakers in the past. I was trying to get me a pair, right?
What exactly do you do with that? What work? Can you describe it?
I do a lot of different things. Well, I mean, I guess the most simple way to put it is I'm a designer. Yeah. But I've dabbled in sneaker design, fashion design. I've designed pens, enamel pens. I've designed logos, flyers, banners, album covers, things like that. I do a lot of that type of work. Yeah.
So it was real cool to be able to show support and go out and see some of his work. A lot of good artists around locally, but by far the standout, this huge canvas, it was just amazing.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Did you get an invite?
Absolutely.
Did I get an invite?
Did you get an invite?
Oh no, but look, it wasn't like that. It was an open invite.
It'll be in the mail next week.
It's gonna come late.
It might.
Oh, it's gonna come in late.
So you sent how late did you put it in the mail yesterday or Friday?
I think I did this morning.
So it's just a souvenir. At this point.
Yeah.
Pretty much. But today we got two questions. The first question is going to be, how do we combat the epidemic rise of mental health disorders such as anxiety attributed to the prominence of technology? And Bryan has some information on that he would like to go into.
Sure. So on a recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience with Jonathan Haidt, a graph from the Higher Education Institute displayed the percentage of college students who said they had a psychological disorder, such as depression or anxiety. From 2010 to 2012, the rates are fairly constant, which was consistent of, completely millennials. However, from 2012 to 2016, the college population was entirely made of Generation Z. So there they noticed that the percentage of men who said yes to having a mental disorder rose from 3% to 6%. And then for women, it jumped from 6% to 15%. And so Jonathan Haidt noted that this rise directly coincided with the prominence of social media technologies, in particular the starting of the rise of Facebook. So I thought it was really neat. We go back and forth about social media bad for us, but then we have concrete evidence that shows not necessarily that it's bad, but that's a consequence of it.
Yeah.
That's one of the many consequences. So I wanted to kind of explore that and see what could we do what are your thoughts on how we could combat that and mitigate those negative effects?
Facebook depression is a real thing now, apparently. Only because you're trying to get your dopamine fix for that like. I mean, I'm saying everyone has their own struggles, right? Mm-hmm. But to me, I feel like the most effective people have that positive mindset. They block out all that noise. Yeah, it's cool to be on social media sometimes, but to have it to a point where you are having your sovereignty put into giving away your sovereignty and power to your smartphone.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Meaning in the morning, I'm just gonna go on Facebook, I'm gonna go on Instagram, I'm gonna like and scroll. You're absorbing all of this information into your head, right? And you're just, throughout the day, you just feel like you're overloaded or exhausted, or you're comparing yourself on Instagram. Oh, this girl's pretty. Oh, wait, why am I not like that? Why am I not in Greece or whatever? They're having the time of their lives. These are the highlights of people's lives that people associate themselves I'm not really, I guess my life sucks, or...
Yeah.
Right, you're seeing a cross-section and you're imposing it onto their entire their life.
Yeah.
But it's really neat because I actually remember another podcast I was watching, can't recall which one it was, but they illustrated the point how when you wake up in the morning, your brain goes through several cycles, kind of like the sleep cycle. So with the first thing you do is look at your phone. You're bombarded with these notifications. You're trying to catch what happened yesterday. You're not present in the moment. So that's why I'm a big advocate. In the morning, the first thing I do when I get up is I don't check the phone for the first 30 minutes or hour.
Yep.
But I make sure I do my yoga, have my green tea.
Yep.
It's just a mental routine to get myself running up to speed, and I feel so much better given that versus where I'm sitting in bed, just scrolling. Because it's a really abrupt way to wake up.
Our brain is a deletion device.
Right.
So if our brain actually just like saved everything that we were looking at, everything that we were reading or whatever, we'd go insane, right? So we filter out what we choose to see, choose to memorize, or anything like that. But we're constantly going to sleep, and then after I'm just like have all these like likes or like comments, or I'm just like scrolling forever for like 30 minutes, and then I go to sleep. It's just like what next? Like that's in my subconscious mind. And then eventually you'll have like mental fatigue. Like cut that.
No, you're good.
Take your time.
But it kind of goes back to what Desmond was saying in regards to feels like in a recent episode when he was like he feels like he's missing something. So you say you get up and you don't check your phone and everything, but you not looking for anything. Desmond, maybe he was looking for something, you know, maybe looking for his crush saying something about him, or maybe looking for some the next news, the next beef that's coming on, you know.
Bro, don't be putting
maybe you're looking for that.
Like, I'm not saying like I don't have important emails, like maybe a job interview that I had.
What?
I thought you were getting my attention. But let's say like it's an email I'm waiting on from a job or something like that, or just anything. Like, yeah, there's notifications or things that I'm looking forward to, but it's not in the forefront of my mind. Like the first morning I dedicate to like my well-being and my mental state of, you know, wellness. So it takes priority over anything else.
Because it's kind of like a ripple effect. Like if you wake up in the morning and then you check your messages and then you check your emails, all these requests, you're kind of conditioning yourself to respond, to just react to these demands that are on your emails.
And
so
the emotions are tied to it.
Yeah, so that's kind of like why people say to make your bed in the first day, or make your bed when you first wake up, or drink water when you first wake up, because you know you do lose a lot of water when you're sleeping or whatever. Your brain is kind of like foggy in the morning. So if you're feeding the first thing of your day with social media, or just like going on Facebook, or just checking things, you're just conditioning yourself just to respond, to react, not to be creative, not to like see clarity. So it's like you need to get away from that matrix.
You touched on something about how like just absorbing everything, and that's exactly what Matt was saying. If you want to rehash that, about how you say like all the different kinds, like the for example, like how you feel about horror movies. Do you want to like reiterate that?
Sure. So I was telling them earlier about when I was maybe 12 or 13 years old that I watched something called Happy Tree Friends, and it's a it looks like a children's show, and it's made, they're like the characters pink bunnies, and you know they look cute, but they end up murdering each other, or they die in very grotesque or gory ways. It was very disturbing. Some of my friends thought it was funny, and they showed it to me, but it kind of gave me PTSD in a way. So now when I started getting older, I was very cautious about what I watched, because it made me feel a certain way. And I'm also very overactive thinker, and my mind goes crazy with ideas when I see certain things. And you know, number one, for me, it's not so much about the actual content, it's about the content creator. So I started to think about who would actually make something like this, and why would they make this, and what's their agenda. And you know, there's probably you have to be pretty deranged to come up with something like that, I think. So anyway, I'm very intentional about what I watch, about starting now, what I eat, because I wasn't before, and I gained a lot of weight. Now I have a lot of health problems. I used to smoke cigarettes. I don't smoke anymore. I'm just very dependent on, in any situation, I try to, like, you know, if there's negative people around, I try to distance myself from them. It's very important, like, you know, your diet, but not just your physical diet, your spiritual diet, everything that you take in is going to reflect who you are and your aura, and it can really drag you down. So I don't like watching horror movies. I don't like watching overly stressful, suspenseful movies that get my heart rate up and I get anxious, and, you know, just I'm just very intentional about what I consume.
I really agree with that. Like, it kind of like what you're saying is like, you are what you eat, you are what you watch, you are who you surround yourself with. You know, I tell you that like 5 times a day.
Right.
But and what you consume, it just makes you. And you, like I said earlier, you can filter all of that out. Like if you're surrounding yourself with people who are just constantly negative, or if you're watching like a scary movie, you have the control to not watch it. You can just turn off the TV. You have the control to just, well, maybe not easy, but control to like slowly detach yourself from certain things, certain energies, just so that you can find like better enlightenment in your life. And I guess going back to like the technology part, I feel like we are giving our brains to our smartphones and like just like social media in general, like Facebook. That's why they said Facebook depression. But and I think it was Jim Quick. He's one of the motivational speakers. He talks about how to utilize your brain to its maximum potential. He was stating that there is a thing called digital dementia, where you start to forget at an early age just because you're always constantly, I guess, I don't know, you guys like start to realize you're starting to forget some things really quickly. I don't know, are you looking? Okay.
No, not really.
I think it's called door frame syndrome or something. When you walk through a door frame, like let's say you're supposed to go to a room to get something, like you someone asks you to go get something. Right when you go into the room, now you're like, I know I came in here to do something, but I can't remember what I'm supposed to be doing.
Okay.
Right, that happens to me a lot, and I was trying to figure out, like, I thought I had some crazy disease or something because I was forgetting stuff like, I'm not supposed to be forgetting, and it would be simple things, little tiny things. My mom asked me to call my sister today before I left the house, and I never called her, and it was just stuff like that. It happens to me a lot, and I didn't know that was a thing, digital dementia, but I can see like that's probably where it comes
Half
from.
the generation will have probably.
I spend so much time on social media, and I'm like you. I always feel like I'm missing something, and it's because I have my business online. Sorry, my business is online. I represent myself on social media. So my primary mode of communication is direct messaging on Instagram. So I get a lot of notifications on Instagram, and I'll go up there and I'll look. And we've been kind of conditioned to, everything kind of goes like this fast, and it doesn't have to be, but we feel like it does. And then if I'm not online for 5 hours, for 6 hours, like that's like I'm not plugged in right now. Like I have no idea what's going on. I'm getting left behind. So it's a constant battle.
It sucks. No, it doesn't suck, but it becomes a problem when you're passionate about your work, your art, whatever, but. And it's also the business. What business drives like a lot of local artists and everything is social media, just because how else are you going to market yourself? And it's kind of like, I know someone that had like photography, right? And they were obsessed with likes because the likes got you more followers and more exposure. And I get that. Like that's like the beauty side, the good part of social media. But if you don't have it in moderation, then it's like, you kind of will get to that point where you just crack.
Yeah, that's what you were getting at with your
mental
with
fatigue.
sovereignty.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I guess it kind of starts impacting a lot of people around you, because then if you sit at a dinner table and you're just like on your phone and you're like, no, it's business. And I get that, but I guess that kind of goes into another topic about like money, but there's other ways to overcome that and block all of that noise, and like to set some time in your day, like you in the morning have your time to do yoga, you drink tea, and you just kind of like meditate and kind of connect yourself with the universe. That's a bigger topic.
I do have a suggestion to kind of combat that, using your phone at the table, that my friend Marcel came up with. I don't think he came up with this actually, but what they do is they put their phones face down in the middle of the table, and if they're at a restaurant, the first person to touch their phone has to pick up the tab.
Yeah, I've heard people do that.
Yeah,
as I'm on the phone.
Right. I mean, you're taking care of all this anyway.
It's all good.
Y'all taking care of this anyway. So
Moderation.
Help yourself to a cookie.
Right.
But so you guys say all of that. So you guys say all that, but But since it's combating mental health, is social media bad? And I don't mean to go back to a different topic,
Episode,
but
like
yeah, a different
episode.
episode. But is social media bad? Since you guys are saying all of this,
Before we do that, Desmond, did you have any thoughts on this?
Are we going?
I want you to defend.
Are we doing our thing?
I want you to defend yourself.
I didn't even want to bring that up.
What?
That was Desmond from 5 months ago. This is I'm fucking
Okay.
messing with you.
I just want to give you a chance to
So-
clear your name.
I'm not going to go too much into the social media thing. I kind of want to dive right into depression, anxiety, and itself. I feel like what we have to do, because I don't know if you guys watched the previous episode, but we kind of like touched on, well, I'm pretty sure you know, but I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but speaking on depression and anxiety by that to like black families, it's taboo. Because the question is, well, what do you have to be depressed about? It's kind of like you need some form of entitlement to feel this way instead of just like, instead of them understanding that you're just a human being at the end of the day, you're going to go through your own trials and tribulations.
Right.
So one thing that definitely helped me was seeking out help, going to a therapist. And then the other thing was stripping myself raw and actually analyzing myself. And that's not an overnight thing. That's not a 1 week, 2 week thing. That takes months to do because you'll catch yourself analyzing and seeing what you're doing wrong, and you'll break it, and then you'll fall right back into that same negative habit. So for me, it was stripping myself and realizing that I didn't have hobbies, that I didn't have anything to look forward to, that a lot of what I thought I was trying to achieve wasn't really what I wanted to achieve. It's what society wants me to achieve so I can get the status or the money or this, that, and the third.
Yes.
And that falls into his thinking that you are, searching for something. And that's my defense of that. So in part of stripping myself raw, it was kind of like losing Xbox, losing TV, and kind of realizing that like you spend hours, like 7-8 hours of your day Netflix and Xbox.
That's a whole work day.
Absorbing somebody else's
Yeah.
ideas.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Time.
And then so you're doing that, and then your years are passing you, and it's like, well, damn, you want to go out with your friends, but you don't have money. Well, 40 hours you spend on the Xbox in the week could have been 40 hours.
Yep.
Not saying you want to do it, but punching the clock. Have some finances, have some, wiggle room to do what you want to do. So it's kind of like stripping that away. And I didn't do it voluntarily. Like things kind of happened to where, financial restraints. So the Xbox realized that, being a parent's tough at 23, 24. So you got to do what you got to do. But it was all part of like just one foul swoop to where I was like, you know what, I want to be a more active dad. I want to know more about me. So when it comes to time to where my son goes through the same things, I want to be able to help him if he goes through the same things, because, obviously my parents or, any of my siblings, we never really had that talk, so I can't vouch for them. But first thing I realized was I didn't have a hobby, so I picked up the gym. And first 2 times, like going back, this is day back to 2016, where I was just doing it because that's what my son's mother wanted to do. I hated it, couldn't bench press more than like 90 pounds, didn't like going, but I was just going it because that's something she wanted to do. Went again, actually started liking it, and then I got a stress fracture on my wrist, so then that's where everything divulges back down to, you going back to old habits. Then, when was it? January 2018? Didn't have any issues, my wrists were good, and I kind of like fell in love with it. And that was my, fix, per se. Because, I was one of the people, who like self-diagnosed, so my fix was smoking weed. It gave me that, internally, I was able to weave in and out of emotions and use more logic to where I wasn't making, brash decisions based off of emotion and then dealing with it later on down the road. I was kind of like, knocking things out as they were coming instead of, just overanalyzing things and kind of making the wrong decision, but not necessarily making the wrong decision, per se, if that makes sense. And then second thing was cutting down the cell phone time. So by doing that, it's just catching yourself in the act. And like, so my son will be downstairs, eating, and I'll have Puppy Dog Pals on. He's watching that, and then I'll be on my phone, and I'm realizing like, that's time that could be spent to where like I'm actually analyzing, seeing his like developmental stages, see how he goes from, not really wanting to eat breakfast to eating all his breakfast in like a 10-minute span, like things of that nature.
So your son was kind of like the pivotal point where you realize you need self-awareness? No?
No. See, that goes into the first episode where we had our talk about
But
relationships.
you realize that you have this self.
No, my.
So you don't
Oh yeah,
have
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was kind of like, I'm sorry. You go. Was that the?
Yeah,
Was
like,
that just?
you,
No, yeah, I
you
realized I
realize,
had.
like after all of like your battle with your mind, you started. I mean, and yeah, it doesn't happen overnight. You start to realize you came a long way from when you first was like, oh, I'm so negative. Like, why do I feel like this? Why do I keep making all these decisions? And you reflect, and you're realizing like all these little techniques that you're going to the gym. You're focusing on things that matter in front of you, in like present time.
Yeah.
My self-awareness came when my son's mother and I split, and I realized how much power I was giving to somebody else. Toward things that I was doing wasn't even things that I enjoyed. I enjoyed it because I was doing it with her. And so pretty much when you come into a relationship, you want to have what you enjoy and what that person enjoys, and there should just be like a meeting point. It shouldn't be one person sacrificing their personal health or sanity, any of that stuff, to make another person feel better. And I think that's what I did. That's what I did. I kind of like, I've never really been big on drinking. Started drinking more. Never was big on working out. Started working out here, even though it kind of like benefited me in the long run. Then didn't like watching a lot of TV. Didn't like being in the bed all the time. But that's what she liked to do. So it's kind of like me diverting away from who I was as a person, because I've always been really active. I've always like loved being on the move, and kind of like making myself dormant was the start of everything. And then me realizing everything was the start of me the self-excavation and kind of creating a new person.
Right.
Yeah.
So like you said, like once you were able to, everything else fell away from who you thought you were. At least you were able to like say like, wow, I really don't know myself. And that was the catalyst for you to finally get that stuff together.
That, and so I was actually thinking about this morning. Like I didn't even look at what the prompts were, and I was thinking, because my brother is really big on video games, just like your brother. He's 14 years old, like 6'3", and he loves video games. I mean, he gets it from me, but of course, video games came into our lives later, like when we were 6 or 7. That's when like the first PlayStation and all that came out. Was never really big on the Nintendos, but one thing I was thinking to myself was like, have parents been more active in creating like a little routine for kids, they'd be better off in the long run with managing their times. Because think about how often like our parents let us stay on the game for 6, 7 hours, 8 hours out of the day, because it was better than running the street with your friends, because you had that safe and security where they knew that you were in this one spot and nothing bad was going to happen to you.
Right.
If they would have like, and this is just a thought per se, or like my theory is like, if parents better like equip their kids with time management, knocking out the simple things, like chores shouldn't be chores. Chores are like your living necessities. You need essentials. You need a clean space. You need a clean bed. You need clean clothes. And parents kind of push that stuff onto you as like a punishment. Whereas if you like teach the kid that they're not chores, they're responsibilities, it creates a whole different aspect to where when that kid is 18, 19 years old, knocking those chores out, that eliminates so much time from playing on the game. Like just doing your chores, the sense of accomplishment that comes with it, and then you're not on the game as much, you're not on your phone as much, you're actually focusing on what you're doing. It eliminates, it's kind of like a positive. You eliminate something, and then at the same time you kind of gain that self-awareness, or like, this is a routine that needs to continue moving forward. Because the second that routine breaks, you go back into playing video games all the time, or on your phone all the time, or doing this and a third, then you're kind of questioning like, well, what went wrong? And you're realizing that abandonment of routine is what is always going to be the stimulus to where you start feeling, your depression and your anxiety, feeling like you're not going to accomplish the goals you want to accomplish, feeling like,
fall into a bad habit type of thing. And for you, like, or I guess for anyone, at some point in your life, because you were listening to your parents, or like you were listening to your friends, or like all these external like people are giving you advice or anything, and then you start to have like, I guess not really an epiphany, but something drastic that happens to you, or something that you just feel like you're in a really bad like routine or habit, that you start to realize you need to start having self-awareness and rewiring your brain from all the distractions. So that goes figure, like, you probably watched a lot of TV before, you probably had a lot of games before, so when you cut that out, you felt more cleansed, and I really admire that, so that's really cool.
One thing you said, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, but doing that though is the most dangerous thing, because that's when you like
You can flip back
no.
to
when you strip everything, you have nothing. And you kind of begin to question a lot more. It gives you a lot more idle time mentally to where you're questioning people's, motives and intentions. You start looking into stuff that doesn't need to be necessarily looked into.
And
you drive your idle mind is the devil's playground. Yeah. And kind of like to just end my little statement is, I don't know if it's a Jim Carrey quote or not, but it something on Facebook. It was it said that depression is the mind telling you that it's tired of playing the character you've been playing.
Right.
And like I saw it like last month around Christmas time, and I was like mind blown, because we make depression we make it out to be something so complex. And in a sense, it is.
As if it's, I'm depressed.
Yeah, we make it so complex where it's just a simple thing, and I say simple, and like just changing small things has such a big impact. That's why I say like simple, not because for some people it is a lot worse, where they feel they need medication, and to me,
how they got to where they are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To me, medication is like, if I need to go on medication, then I might as well call it quits.
That's why it kind of made sense when you were like, you had that face when I talked about Netflix or like Black Mirror or whatever. Like you guys were okay with it, and then you said something like, oh no, like that probably was like something you really wanted to get away from.
Yep.
And also like with depression, I feel like, don't you feel like everyone's depressed nowadays? Like even like young people, like people who are like 14 or like 15. Like, I would have a niece that talked to me about how her friend wanted to commit suicide over a boyfriend. And it's stuff like that. Like, oh, he didn't text me back. Oh, and all that. And I'm just like, you guys are like in high school, like, or middle school or whatever. Like, why is this the only answer is to be depressed, have anxiety? And it kind of like tailors back to what are we feeding like our kids, not really like physically like eating or whatever, but like information, like what are we doing to,
and part of it is not even what we're doing, it's just what they are
see
open to.
I have something to say about that. I think as far as feeding information, and you were saying Instagram is like a highlight reel of all the best moments of people's lives, and we just consume the best moments, and we say, I want that, I wish I had that, and then you start to compare to what you have. For us, when we were younger, I think a big reason why a lot of young black men are experiencing depression is because of reality TV or social media now. But when I was younger, I thought MTV Cribs was real, right? And it's not.
Really?
A lot of times they rent the homes, they fill it with their possessions or things that they claim to be their possessions. They rent the cars, they can put their own license plates on them, rent the chains, rent the jewelry, rent everything. It's a facade, and we're young. Oh man, I want to be a rapper. I want to be a rapper. Like one day when I grow up, I'm gonna be a rapper, and then I'm gonna have that, right? I feel like everybody kind of goes to that phase. Almost.
If it's not rapping, it's producing.
Everybody kind of goes to, you kind of, at one point in your mind, like in your life, that crosses your mind.
It's almost genetic.
Yeah, almost genetic. And we were just like, I want to be a rapper. So we were, we used to write songs, and, we wanted to be famous. We wanted to have money. We wanted to be able to be popular. We wanted all the girls to like us. We wanted everything that the rappers had. I wanted all the cars, everything. So, I feel like, as far as
times 100.
Yeah, and now it's every day. I'm on social media. He got Balenciagas.
Right.
And then somebody one-ups him. They get Gucci, whatever. Like, and it's he got more followers than him.
And on top of that, you used to compete with celebrities. Now you're competing with your friends. Like you compete with me. You compete with him.
And I'm competing with you. Compete with everybody now, and it's like you don't know where you fit in. You don't know what you want. You just feel like. Oh, sorry. You just feel like every single thing that I'm seeing on the internet, this is real. I don't have this. I wish I had this. And I feel like this way is how to get it, but almost always that way is not the way. So like even on social media, let's say like rap music, for example, because I have done a lot of research of the music industry. I just got back from California. We went to Complex Con this year, and it was really cool, by the way. I saw you nodding. It was dope. Yeah. But anyway, while I was there, I met some people who were involved with some celebrities, right? And they told me some stories about some celebrities, and I won't say any names, but whoever the celebrity was would go to a jeweler, buy a chain from them, right? They would have their chain. It would be a custom piece. They would rock it, take some pictures, and then they would go back to the jeweler and they would sell the piece back to the jeweler, right? And then with that money, they would buy a new piece, melt down the old one, and they would give it back to them. Does that make sense? Y'all, like, so let's say the piece, okay, $22,000, right? I buy some gold from you, you make a piece for me. I wear it out, right? And I come back to you. The price of gold went up or it went down, however it is. I sell it back to you. You give me, let's say, instead of $22,000 now, you give me $20,000, right? Now I have $20,000, you have a chain. Now I want to give you back $20,000 so you can melt that chain down for me and make a different piece for me, custom chain, right? With something else on it.
So
but it's the same metal.
They don't have this huge collection. They're just recycling the
Recycling the same metals.
Yeah.
And then they go out. I'm taking pictures with this new chain, same chain, come back to you. Now price going down, $18,000. I sell it back. I got $18,000. Now I want to buy this $15,000 chain and this $3,000 piece pendant. You know, it's like a
And you take
all
a
of this
picture
stuff
and
is
you're just comparing yourself. My thing is, in Gary Vee's words, if you're comparing yourself to other people's lives, you're already lost.
Yeah,
Like, you
it's facts.
literally can't if you can't find the strength or the opportunity within your depression that comes.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Sound like you getting a carrot.
Dog, my cookies ain't that hard.
Oh my!
I'm sorry.
God.
Keep going. I'm so sorry.
I'm just eating slowly. But yeah. So if you can't find if you can't find the strength or opportunity when you're depressed, as in, huh? Oh. I'm gonna repeat that sentence again. But do you want me to repeat it? Okay. If you can't find the strength or the find the strength or opportunity when you're depressed, that depression actually just comes and goes, then you're just not motivated at all. Like, you have the choice to motivate yourself.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, if I wanted a chain and I saw someone with a chain, I'm just like, I'm gonna get it. But do I need it? No.
Probably
I only want it because I saw it on Instagram.
Yeah.
Real quick, you touched on something. So the frame of the question was like, what can we do to combat this thing, right? Combat this huge epidemic that's sweeping the nation. So you said the parents that they were just pushing the PlayStations off because it was safer for the kids to be playing that than to be out in the streets. So that means that I also believe that too. So like the parents are complicit in pushing this. So like more and more today, so you see parents, they're buying their children, 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old, iPads and stuff like that. And they're pushing the technology on them sooner than, per se, than when we were introduced. Like, when did the first iPad come out? The first iPhone come out? We were like already just about high school, right?
High school, yeah.
Right, so we were older and more developed. So do you think that has anything to do with it? Like the delayed development and being able to access at an earlier age?
Yes, because the kid's brain is already a sponge. You're already you can teach your kid something at a young age. That's how kind of like you absorb everything. Their brain is a sponge, right? And if that kid is just sitting there and just on an iPad for like 2 hours because you want your kid to just not talk, then it's like you're training your kid to just condition yourself just to swipe, or like play games. And I'm not saying like that, I'm sure there's educational purposes where you want to learn, like, there's different apps and all that. But like I said, like moderation. Like they don't teach kids to do cursive anymore, right? Do they?
Nope. I don't think so.
No, they'll never. We're the last generation to know cursive.
Yeah.
We're the last generation with photo albums.
They're also they're making it easier to pass. So like I'm a high school teacher now.
Oh wow, didn't know that.
Yeah, I just got
They're
a
making
job.
what?
They're making it easier to pass. So for SOLs, the score to pass goes down, right?
That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, and that's something else entirely. But at my high school that I'm teaching at, I think a B used to be, I can't remember,
80 something.
80 something, and now it's
88.
Was it 88?
For me, a B minus was an 88.
Okay, now it's 80.
Nah, that's not new though.
That's a college scale.
No, that's
Yeah.
not new though. DOD
That's not
schools-
new?
DOD schools go off of a 10-point scale, and then Chesapeake went to a 10-point scale a long time ago too.
Yeah,
so
it
this is
wasn't-
when you were in school that you had that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it wasn't. It was like at the end.
You know how you said
I'm
it?
sure.
I don't
Like, it
remember high
wasn't-
school.
It was like towards the end of high school. I remember it changing to like a 10-point
Yeah.
scale.
So 100 to 90, then 89 to 80, then 79, 70, 69, 60.
Yeah, it used to be like 100 to 92 was a A, then 92 to like 85 was a B.
It was a 6-point scale at some
Yeah,
point.
something like that.
Cell phone
What?
policy.
Six-
How is it in
six
high
or eight.
school?
Oh, listen, they have laptops. They
Yeah,
have
they can have all that.
they,
stuff.
they can have everything. Like the school provides it for them, right? And I had a parent email me about her daughter who has autism and why I gave her 2 zeros on 2 assignments. And she said she is so sick and tired of technology, and her daughter is glued to it. And she said wrote me a really angry email, and you know, I try my best to engage her daughter. You know, I'll even given her alternative assignments. I gauge her interests. I talk to her about what she's watching, but nothing seemed to work. And ultimately, it is her choice whether or not to do the assignment or not. But Smithfield High School provides laptops for students. They can use their phones in the hallways. They can use it.
Do they do their assignments on the laptop? Like on the table?
Sometimes. But I've noticed that they just watch Fortnite videos, or they just watch they watch other people play Fortnite,
Yeah.
or they watch. You know what I mean? Like that's what they're doing.
That's weird too.
Yeah, that's what they're doing, and
Versus
they
playing themselves.
Hmm?
Versus playing themselves.
versus
They'd rather watch
playing
somebody else
themselves.
play.
They're watching someone else play it.
And,
You know.
and you said the student is you say gave him 2 zeros on the assignments because she's so technology driven?
No, it's an art class.
Uh-huh.
You know, we get from Monday until Friday to complete your assignment. And these are simple assignments. She just refuses to do them. Right? And but the thing that she's using her time for is on the computer. You know, which the school provides.
You should use that as a reinforcement. The computer
Yeah.
as a reinforcement, as in you do this, then you can get it on the computer, basically.
Yeah.
That helps with kids
I
with
guess-
She
autism.
finished all of her work
To an
immediately.
extent.
It's true.
That's what kind of is when you say do your chores and then you can
Yeah.
play on the game or do whatever you got to do.
But
That's
that
kinda
goes back
it
to what
is.
you said, how
Well-
you're using it as a punishment.
No, for autistic kids, this is what he's
Okay.
saying is specifically for them because we work with autistic kids. That's why he's saying that.
With the positive
Yeah,
feedback
yeah.
loop.
It's actually a procedure that we
Yeah.
use regarding that.
Like
It's
autistic
just-
kids are glued to technology for that reason because that is their reinforcer. And if they're just given it and they don't get satiated with that, with whatever they're using, there's no motivation, there's no motivated factor for them to do what they're supposed to do because they're already getting what their reinforcer is.
whether it's learn a skill
Yeah.
or
That's kind of like how you build like people who enjoy computers, like and become like IT professionals or like
Well,
CS majors. or
that's
something
kind of how
that.
like autistic kids are. Like they
Yeah,
are
they
super
start-
smart
they
and they
start
remember
gearing their
anything,
stuff.
but it's just
Can they draw? They're good at drawing,
Yeah.
right? Well, some people.
Yeah.
aren't.
A lot of these
They're-
kids who they say, well, some of these kids who actually do have mental disorders, but what I've noticed, you know, with autism, with all these different, you know, on the spectrum of that, they have the ability to be hyper focused and they hyper specialize on a certain area.
Yeah.
So like they pick that one area and they're experts in it. So for example, like that girl could just be an expert in technology, and that's just what she's hyper focused on. She has that tunnel vision. That's what she's oriented toward. And I'm pretty sure in your clinical practice, like both of you guys, you experience clients like that, right?
like one of our kids that when he was at our center, great at math, like 7 years old. You can give him triple digit, quadruple digit, addition,
You guys are
subtraction.
encouraging that, right?
As far as what?
You guys are encouraging that, like if one person's like really good at something, you're encouraging it, or are you guys like? Because I don't know how it was like because when we were in high school.
Well, no, you take their skills and you just use them to your advantage.
Yeah.
Because
Like,
you're in a
you're
session
innate,
with them
yeah.
for like 5 hours. Well, his practice is different, but with ours, you're in like that session. You're in a session for 5 hours, and when you sit in a room with a kid for 5 hours, you kind of like learn to know that kid just as good as parents do, and you like use their strengths to your advantage. That way, you can keep things structured
Right.
instead of like constantly.
And then they get mad because they're just not working on something that they're probably like passionate about. Like it's kind of like how earlier when I told you, like in sixth grade, I was a really great artist or whatever. I wanted to be an artist, and I don't know, like I was in the academy for art. And then my mom took me out halfway because she said, "You're not gonna do anything with your life with that." And you know, that's typical Asian, like traditional parents. And then I grew up trying to think that I was gonna be a nurse, and then I dropped out of that second week of college, became an IT major. But it's like little stuff like that. It does go back all the way to your parents and like all the way to how you were raised and your environment and your teachers. So like what you guys are doing is a really good service. Like I applaud that. Like you guys should be able to, from your experience, and like it's good that you guys are talking about that to these kids, or you should do that to these kids. But what they say, kids are the future, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But there's so many teachers that don't care.
Yeah.
I had many teachers that really didn't care.
Yeah.
So I think the consensus that we're reaching on how to appropriately deal with this is for a mixture of parenting, because ultimately where they're getting the technology from at such an early age, you know, they aren't, a 5-year-old doesn't have the money to buy an iPad or anything like that.
That's true.
So they're getting it from somewhere.
Yeah.
And then also just the parent taking responsibility, unless they're stealing it. The parents taking responsibility and teaching them, you know, how to manage their time appropriately. But then also, you know, the school, because, for example, like
You spend half your life.
exactly, you spend some children spend more time interacting with the teachers and their peers in the school system than they do with their families at home. So they have more influence over that child. So, you know, they only talk about, for example, in my school, we talked about mental health in health class. Breezed over it, iced over, you know, really didn't go into depth over it. You know, I couldn't tell you anything that I learned back then. And I think that focus needs to be shifted, and it should be more discussed. Of, you know, they're more aware of the consequences leading up until the time where they're, you know, going out and interacting with this technology and moving up in the world like that. Which I feel like a lot of schools, I know for a fact, like around this particular area, you guys are saying like the schools are more progressive, but like from where I'm from, it's not so much the case. I don't know about the school systems back in Warsaw, Richmond County. I don't know about the school systems now, but when I was coming up, it wasn't like that. We didn't talk about mental health as much.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about mental
I don't
health.
talk about it.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about it.
I mean, I
Period.
guess that's why they try to but they try to mention it more now, and like, but even so, it still goes to day to day what you do outside of school, kind of thing too. If you're constantly just consuming your day just on your phone or on video games, all like for like the rest of the night after you do your homework or whatever, instead of practicing or like doing your passions, then you're just setting yourself up to just do the same thing, same habit. And then you start to come to realize before you're like 24 or you're 25, and you're like, what am I?
You don't know yourself.
You don't know yourself, like Jim Carrey. Oh,
Oh, Jim Carrey under the bus. He's not gonna
no,
watch it though.
but
Yeah.
he's a perfect example because he's been through so many like identities. He
Yeah.
even said it himself. He clearly he doesn't know who he is, and he's trying to find himself now.
Yeah. And I think that's something we also should give the benefit of the doubt to parents, because not a lot of parents asked to be parents when they were, and so a lot of the traumas that they go through in life are passed down to the kids inadvertently because they aren't like where they want to be at in life. And I feel like just even for me, because my passion has always been like to go to law school, and having a kid at 22, my options were either to stay in school and get my degree or join the Navy. Well, both my parents were in the Navy, like high-ranking officers, and I was like, whatever I want to do in life, I want it to be completely different from what they do. So I stuck to school. And while yes, it was satisfying to achieve that accomplishment, but it takes a greater toll because you're bringing a new life into the world, and very few jobs will hire full-time with you being a full-time student. I'm not going to say very few because people do it, but like with what I brought to the table and not having a lot of like experience in anything besides like customer service and sales, it was very hard to get, you know, a decent paying job that was paying more than $8 an hour. So what I did was I when I found out about my son, I asked to be a manager, and then I took that and did what I was supposed to do for my year. Didn't make a lot of money, but made enough to pay, for his living necessities and then daycare. And then the chance I got right after I graduated, I went and worked with Josh. Obviously, it was a pay increase, but not where I wanted to be. And then now I start my new job next Monday. And
Congratulations.
so yeah.
Hi, bro.
So that's what I'm saying. Like when you strip yourself raw, it's not a day journey. It's not a week journey. It literally takes years because you're undoing years of bad. For me, it's 2 decades worth
And
of bad
it also
habits.
took you a while to admit that there was something wrong.
Yeah.
Like, to like you said, you
Yeah.
therapists to ask for help because your friends can give you all the advice in the world, your parents can give you all the advice in the world, but it's like, are they
Yeah.
actually valued?
They don't understand how to
They
be
don't
unbiased.
understand, right?
Can I ask you a personal question?
Yeah.
Do you feel like your son was the biggest motivating factor to push things? Like, cause no, the reason, cause like I was asking, cause like as a man, I feel like at some point you kind of feel this neat sense to become a provider, and it drives your decisions. No.
So I think what we've all established, like Josh and Bryan, we didn't. So the first episode you guys saw was like episode number 6. We recorded a decent amount of episodes before we actually put stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
And day one, I was like, I'm very narcissistic. So external factors don't motivate me. Me not amounting to anything is what motivates me. Like my fear of failure is greater than my drive to be somewhere, and that's what pushes me. So there'll be times where I'll be in a drought, and my fear and realization of being in that drought is what will push me to want to be better than that.
So you're kind of like survival mode.
Yeah. My son will just be the beneficiary of it. That's how I look at it.
Desmond, you just won the Olympics. So how do you feel? Now, who do you want to thank? I want to thank myself.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, I feel like being able to own up to your faults is what.
But
makes
that
you-
was your problem. Like, I am a hothead, and I get mad easily, and I have a temper. But it took me a while to realize that. So it's like, you did things for yourself to kind of overcome that, narcissism. And I'm doing things for myself to realize, I can get over being, temperamental.
If I was doing things for my son, I would have went straight into the military. Because the military provided more
But
stability.
you didn't want to.
No.
Because not everyone wants to be in the military.
True.
It's not for everyone.
I even had that option then, to go in as an officer, and I held off. I could go in as an officer, make 6 figures in 4 years, or I can work my way up and eventually get to where I want to be, to where I can go into law school and have the letters of recommendations that stand out, and then may make more money as a lawyer, or just doing private practice. But it's something I would be wanting to do, or something that I would want to do, rather than fly jets or tell pilots where they should go.
True.
So it's kind of
Yeah.
break habits and kind of reflect and try to realize that you need self-awareness. You kind of start to trickle back into your family history and why did this happen? It's because your family, your parents is who or whoever, your guardian, whoever is who you surrounded yourself first when you were growing up. So it kind of tails into that, and then if you let all of that kind of fog your mind, you can get that mental fatigue and resort to technology. So I guess.
But this is the part where we single in on our
Me?
yeah, because he will
Tell the
sit
story
here and
right
he
here.
will listen,
No, I
and
mean,
we gotta drag that.
I feel like
so you know how I think of things differently, right?
Yeah.
So it seems like you guys are looking at it from the kid's perspective growing up. While when I was tackling this question, I was thinking of examples, and I'm thinking about my dad too, and he has mental health disorders such as PTSD from war and everything like that. So when you think about, I was thinking technology is a factor, but of course when I'm thinking about adults, they're not more technology driven as we are as young people and everything like that. So I was thinking, if we stop putting humans in situations that will cause like mental health disorders, such as sending to unnecessary wars and stuff like. Of course, see how he's looking at me. It's like, oh, look what. But sending people to like unnecessary
You
wars.
essentially be asking for everybody to be rational. You know that's not gonna
So yeah,
happen.
this is why.
So y'all fundamentally disagree.
Wait, continue.
Are you a
What?
cynic?
No, yes, like.
Okay.
Be open-minded.
At times it seems that way.
Yeah, but if people should stop sending, like, if the government stops sending people on wars and developing, like, wars that we don't need to fight, that's one. And then, like, if the cost of living would start rising for, like, millennials, then we wouldn't be so stressed and getting anxiety to move out and
So you're
other things like that.
It's not like you're blaming, but you think that the way our economic status in the United States kind of has a factor into why we are with not. I agree.
Yes,
with that.
that's how I was looking at. Yes.
Because it kind of like goes, it kind of like I said, like goes into like a ripple effect. So it goes into like really small stuff. So that's probably like the top thing that probably like starts everything and then it trickles down. But what makes you think that let's say like what if like the United States didn't go into war with anyone? Would it be peace?
Well, I'm not really thinking. I was just thinking about the well-being of the actual soldiers, as far as like they will be less likely to gain some type of mental illness or mental disorder, such as PTSD.
So that's just your hypothesis.
Because even if in the Air Force, of how prominent it is, I don't have the exact number, but I know that they're the branch with the most cases of alcoholism, and I think it's something to do with the lifestyle that they're living. So that goes into what you're saying, like the conditions that they're put under, the stressful environment. It's just part of just the culture that they have, that they're more prone to developing these conditions like PTSD, alcoholism, depression, bipolarism, all these things.
Interesting. Does anybody else want to add anything to the topic?
You can go on.
Desmond. No. All right.
Hold up. Did you finish saying what you were supposed to say? Because you kind of had like a
Yeah, I did.
90-second snippet, and then he took back over.
No, I did. Yeah, I was talking about as far as I was answering the question basically as far as how we can combat it, and I was saying
And then you went on talking about wars. Not
that
technology.
was part of it.
Not technology. We went in. We were talking about wars.
I think he answered it by saying control the external conditions.
Yeah, and then she asked me about do I feel like external factors. It's just like like capitalism. She didn't say capitalism, but basically those factors.
Did we ever come up with like a general consensus to answer that question?
Like everybody
I
together,
talked about
collectively.
it. Between parents and education,
Parents' education and
preventative education to be exact.
and it's
I don't even know about preventative education because we took what was that class we took in 6th grade, 7th grade? Health.
What I'm saying is by preventative.
Okay, I guess you could say
before the fact.
preventative education in high school then,
Yeah.
not in middle school, because we touched on sex in 6th grade and then never touched on it again. And then it's kind of like one of those things where like women, they go to the gynecologist, they're constantly in the know, and then men kind of don't touch on sex until they start having sex again. And even then, they really don't know anything about sex.
Right.
You agree? Unless you have someone in the household that talks openly about it.
Well, my parents were pastors, so it was really awkward to
My
have
parents,
that conversation.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my parents just blatantly said out. They kind of like, don't have sex.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It was more of like, I was scared to kind of thing.
Yeah, me too. I was
That was it.
I was terrified.
They made it seem like, oh, you're gonna ruin your future if you like. Honestly, it's just more of you gotta be aware of your own body.
My thing
And
was,
your decision making.
I'm thinking everybody got AIDS. Everybody has an STD. The first girl I have sex with is gonna get pregnant.
Man,
I'm
paranoid.
I'm scared because my
Whoa.
parents are both pastors. They like, sex before marriage is like, a sin, right? And anything that was a sin in my mind is gonna affect me negatively, right? So even if it's something I want to do, I'm gonna I'm gonna be the one where I get the disease, or I'm gonna be the one where she gets pregnant
you're gonna get punished.
with triplets,
Yeah.
and I'm not gonna be able to take care of none of, you know what I mean? So I was terrified,
Right.
absolutely terrified. But I guess were you saying? What were you saying about sex, like with young men and
So, I don't know how it is in other schools, but in Chesapeake Public Schools, we talked about sex in 6th grade, and that was the last time we touched on it.
Pretty much.
True?
We didn't even talk about it.
And
We
it was
talked
one of
about
those
it in
things where,
anatomy.
like, you have 6th grade minds trying to divulge information that really is more complex than what the health teacher and health books are making it seem.
That's
And
true.
because we're making this seem like it's just like us as the sixth graders are making it seem like it's such a joke, it's just something they breeze by.
I do want to say something about sex. I think that a lot of young men, we kind of look
I'm
towards.
sorry, you keep saying 6th grade. That's just something's wrong. You sure in 9th grade?
No, I didn't take. I was in Japan in 9th grade, so we didn't go over
How you,
that stuff.
in middle school?
Yeah, we talked about like in health class.
I had in 6th grade.
I thought it was in 9th grade health.
No,
Well,
that's
like I said,
late.
I was in Japan in 9th grade, so I
No,
didn't.
it was 6th grade.
I don't recall.
was in Virginia
I mean, you
Beach.
turn the 6 upside down. That's the.
Wait, I was gonna say.
Because I remember the first
Oh my God.
high school freshman. But yeah.
I think a lot of young men turn towards pornography to kind of educate them on what sex is.
In their peers
I think
too.
it's just subconsciously. Yeah.
Did
Subconsciously.
you know
and-
shopping
and you-
online came from pornography?
I did not know that.
You mean the mechanism how you pay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. But I think that mentally, we kind of
Random fact.
mentally we kind of what was I gonna say? We can become we transform sex from a natural thing that is meant for creating children or to
Intimacy,
this
too.
intimacy to
Yeah.
this perversion, right? So now we're seeing like all these different like
As
porn is
entertainment.
such a like unrealistic expectation for what your first sexual experience is gonna be like, right? I think we can all attest to this. Like it's not like that, like you know what I mean? You're like, it's like, you know, when you start off, if that's the only thing that you've seen, you're gonna try to mimic or emulate what you know.
Let me get a
Y'all
job at
laughing, but I'm
Domino's.
serious.
So let me get a job at
turn off your
Domino's.
laptop. All right, next
You get a job at Domino's.
Shut up. Yeah, I'm gonna go be a plumber and like.
You need that fixed? Tool belt.
Nah, man, but
Question number 2.
So what
I'm
about
about to say I don't even know what.
before I go into that? What about the talk? That didn't help anybody as far as
No, because
Nah,
black
man.
parents don't do this. That's it.
Right.
It was
Why
such
you
a
jumping?
weird talk.
Nah, I gotta talk, but it was
Nah,
weird.
man.
It was
I mean,
weird.
I had a talk, but it was with my cousins, and it was only about them, like talking about periods and stuff. And I think I was younger then because my cousins are like 3 and 4 years older than me, and they had that talk like in 8th grade, and so I was like 5th
It's
grade.
definitely different with girls.
Sixth
Because
grade.
girls just don't want to get pregnant
Yeah.
at such a young age.
Yeah,
Like, I was just there. I had no idea what they were talking about.
I can't even remember how the talk went. I just remember it was awkward and I wanted it to end. And like, yeah, it wasn't like, I don't know. It was short. It was really short, and then that was it. Never talked about it ever again. And I was kind of in the dark.
Learning on the fly.
Wow.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think though? How do we combat the epidemic rise of mental health disorders such as anxiety and prominence of technology? Comment below, let us know, okay? The second question is going to be, what benefits does art provide society? Does it hurt society in any way? So, what do you guys think? Does anybody want to?
We'll let them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it can, depending on, it can do both, depending on who you are, who the artist is, because art is a powerful catalyst for change in general.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm angry or if I'm an evil person, I can use my art to get other people on board with my agenda. Or let's say I'm a good person and I want to, I'm using those words lightly because I don't believe in good or bad people. I believe people are people and there are good and bad actions.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always thought that way. My dad taught me that and my mom taught me that.
Do you believe in doing things right or doing the right things? Doing the
Episode
right
1.
thing. I don't think that's what was episode 1.
Why? You said, do I believe in doing things right or doing the right things?
Yeah.
And why do I have to like separate those. I mean, make a choice on those two things.
It's just a question.
I mean, I feel like they're not like mutually exclusive. Like you know what I'm saying? Like I believe I could do the right thing and do it right too. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right, sorry, but
Y'all heard that, right?
Huh?
Y'all heard what he just said? Okay.
Did I help you make a point about something? Cool. Train of thought. Oh, art. Okay. So, but yeah, I think that it can be both, depending on what agenda you're trying to push, because it is a powerful tool. Yeah. That would be my answer.
I guess it also kind of depends what type of art. Like if it's writing, you can end up giving out false, news to people, or you can like talk rumors about other people, or it just depends on like how you express yourself. And it is like, I agree, like what your mood is, or like how you're feeling. You're just kind of like, either if it's like a canvas, like I feel mad and I'm just gonna paint something that's really obscure and kind of negative looking to the eye, or if I'm mad, I'm gonna write something in my journal and I'm like talking mad crap about things in my life or something. But it's a way of an expression. So I guess in some ways for society, it depends on how you expose your art in a way. Either way, like everyone's going to perceive it in their own opinion, honestly. Like,
So the two of you are both taking like a Uncle Ben like style approach. With great power comes great responsibility. So you're saying like
I thought he was talking
the
about the
art,
rice.
huh? The rice.
I'm not gonna lie, that popped in my head first. I was like, what is rice? Like,
I thought it was
Interesting.
the bag was in my head.
let's go.
Y'all need to go see Into the Spider-Verse, by the way.
Can
Sorry.
you enlighten me who
What?
Uncle Ben is?
It's awesome.
From
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Okay.
Yeah, so with great power comes great responsibility. So
Oh,
the
yeah.
artists, like,
Yeah.
they truly dictate whether art is a good thing or bad thing. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
So, the rights. So, my main thought was, I thought about what is the exact purpose of art. So, I defined it, I was able to write this down and come to like a concise definition that the purpose of art is to convey thoughts and emotions in a way that words cannot.
Okay.
You know, thinking along the lines of like visual art, not
Okay,
excluding like poetry, because I wasn't thinking along those lines until after the fact. So then I thought about the most prominent pieces of artwork throughout history, in my mind, at least to my recollection. Excuse me. So I thought about May 3rd by Francisco Goya, which drew attention to the Spanish resistance of Napoleon's army during the Peninsular War of 1808. So a lot of people, they were first introduced to that, and like the atrocities that were going on, they were just massacring these people. Like in the painting, do you guys want to see it again?
You about to go in your bag?
No, before.
Get in your bag.
But anyhow, so like the guy, it's a lot of like symbolism in here, and he's supposed to be like a Christ figure. So they're showing like how brutal it was. They're just gunning these people down in the streets. And so a lot of people hadn't been exposed to that. Then I also thought about Guernica by Pablo Picasso, one of the most famous artists. So people usually think about his other works, like Demoiselles d'Avignon and some of the other stuff from the Blue period or the Rose period, but they don't think about Guernica. This is another piece. So this is so that one illustrated the bombing of the Spanish town called Guernica by the Nazi army during the Spanish Civil War. That took place on April 26, 1937. So that piece of art was sought by the Nazis to be destroyed because it was showing what was going on. It was the most effective way to convey it because it made people stop and think. When you see this, you see so many the pieces of animals and people all disheveled and strewn about. You're curious about what it is, and people are just silent. Like they were saying, like the children that first saw that piece of art, like how young children are, they're rambunctious. They would see that in the museums and they would stop, and they would just be in silence trying to decipher it and understand what was going on. So anyhow, the Nazis, they were going on this crusade against artists and like trying to find all this art and keep it for the ones that they wanted, and then destroy the other ones. Because you think about propaganda, that's art.
Yeah.
So those are the two most prominent pieces of artwork that I felt they did an excellent job in terms of not just taking that light side of art. Like people think it's light, it's just feelings and emotions, but no, those are very politicized. And they did a great deal for furthering mankind and making us more aware of the atrocities that were going on. So, I think I really couldn't. On the flip side of that, I couldn't think of like how art could be negative like how does it harm society? But I know it has the potential to, depending on who's actually utilizing it.
Yeah.
So like
political cartoons.
right.
So, and you touched back on that. You said art can be harmful, but he kind of is going to the more of the artist being responsible rather than actual art. Like, so is it more? Do you feel it's more of the artist, or do you feel it's more the art that's more impactful?
I think it's the artist.
The artist,
Yeah, because even I talk to some of the kids about, because they always ask me, why is this considered good? And I have to like go back in time to show. All right, so I'm just briefly touch on it. You know, back in the day, people would paint portraits of people, right? And then when the camera came, painters became obsolete in that they didn't have to paint portraits anymore. So they started to do more impressionist type painting, right? And when they did that, it kind of delineated from what is shown in real life. And they're saying, okay, I can make this with paint, right? And then after that, you have people who were taking jabs at that and making jokes, right? So they would make urinal sculptures, or sneeze on a cloth and put it on a table and dare people, dare people to debate them on why that isn't art, right? And then after that, it just kind of everything kind of stemmed from there. Okay, so where was I going with that? Give me 1 second.
Oh, the definition of art changed.
No, about the artists themselves. Okay, so a lot of time, Andy Warhol. Okay, Andy, he believed that art was more like factory based as opposed to man made. So he started cranking things out like it was a factory. He commissioned people, and he had a huge team to help him create those Campbell's soup cans and Marilyn Monroe's and the Rolling Stone tongue and all that stuff.
Even the actual work itself, because like he did the Marilyn Monroe, for example, it was multiple prints of the same exact image but different colors. Like he just rolled them off a conveyor belt.
He just prints them. But my thing is, his art is not necessarily popular because of the actual work itself. It's more his radical approach to it and who he was as an individual, right? And they were junkies. They were using drugs, having orgies, just like their lifestyle was not conventional, and that's what made people pay attention to what they did, the actual work itself, right? So I think, I talk about Kanye West a lot. I think Kanye has great work, but I also think that people pay attention to Ye because of his radical personality. That's what gives importance to the work, or gives a character behind the work importance.
So
Does that make sense?
They're able to back up their art with not really, I guess manipulation is kind of a strong word, but it's more of like they have their own purpose for their art, so that, like, because people perceive certain things differently. Like if you see like Andy Warhol's like Campbell's soup, like someone might think something really deeper than just cans of soup. But Andy Warhol has like a whole perception of like, oh, it's about societal corruption or something like that.
Yeah.
But I guess that's where like I agree with how they back up their kind of like art. And that, I mean, honestly, some people have captions under their art, like if it's like photography or something. Some people don't. They just kind of make you think.
Yeah. But I said all that to say this. I do believe that the artists themselves plays a major role in how the work itself is perceived. Now, that isn't to say that some artwork has outlived or become its own entity outside of the artist creating it. Right. There's some works that just, they take on a life of their own once they're put into the atmosphere. Years and years and years and years preceding, or not preceding, what is the word?
Captivating.
Following?
No. Immediately following something, or it's not preceding, is it?
Preceding is before.
Yeah, that's before.
Succeeding.
Yeah. Thank you. The work succeeding the artist even after they pass away.
Right.
And it has its own following, cult following behind the work itself. And in that case, the work it
trails to like years on.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, and that at that point, I think the work is I guess what did you say more important than the artist?
No,
or?
as far as how does it impact negatively? As far as does the artist, does the work impact the society more negatively? Or
Right.
does the artist?
Right.
I would argue that the artist, because you look at how art is monetized. So when you pay for a piece of art, a painting, you're paying for the name associated with it. That's why you have these famous artists who are selling these, these 8x8 canvases of just blue paint splattered, and it sells for $6 billion because you're paying for who it is. You're not paying for the exact the artistic value of it, the quality, the scenery, anything that's being visually displayed. You're paying because Matt made it.
So, go to show, are you appreciating the artist or the actual art?
Yeah, are you glorifying the person or the artwork?
Interesting. So if you see somebody in the art museum, you're like, interesting.
This is deep. I feel sad.
I like that artist. I don't care about the artwork, but the artist.
Man, that's funny. I was in New York and I went to the MoMA and there was a painting that literally had text on it that said "Stroke your beard" and it was something like that. And it was so funny because I'm looking at people walking around doing this, and then when they get up to it, they kind of do this little chuckle thing, and like because they acknowledge that they're doing. But and then another thing, there was in New York. This huge gallery, this very elaborate gallery who's shown like Rem Koolhaas and some celebrity work artists. They had this little girl make work for them, and they put it in this environment, and they hosted this this big opening with a lot of like pretentious folk coming in, and they kept giving them wine and everything. They're sprucing it up, and they don't know who this artist is. They gave her this really long Italian name, you know what I'm saying? Like, and fake.
Yeah.
And they have the price. Their prices posted. These are millions of dollars, whatever. And everyone's talking about how they love this artist or how they're familiar with their work and they've researched them for a long time and that kind of thing. And then at the end, they told them it was a social experiment about perceived value of things.
Yep.
And it's just
kind of like conforming to society, like in the art culture. Like you're trying to do that ritual and like kind of like conform to everyone's like, yeah, I know that artist.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
And like you said, they're pretentious. They don't want to admit to like, oh, I never heard of this artist before. They feel like that would make them feel like lesser of a person.
Yeah.
Than admitting to like being ignorant or not knowing enough or not being exposed to something.
Right.
And taking the opportunity to be educated about it.
Yeah. It's just interesting because not only now is it about the artist. But now it's about setting and it's about the smells because expensive colognes and the food that is given at the show. You know what I mean?
Atmosphere that your art has.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's just like the same way with your photography and how many likes you have, kind of thing.
Yes.
That how many times I see many people here and they have like really great like pictures and like you have like 5 followers or things like that. And then you would see someone with like a lot of pictures and it's just their quality is like this, but their quantity of like how many people follow them is like 500,000 people, and you're just asking why.
Yeah.
But I mean,
that perceived value. We touched on that a few episodes ago. I think.
Shaking ass.
Huh?
No, it's why they shaking ass.
Yeah, it's like a social currency. We equate someone's value to the amount of likes and things. I see where you're going with that. It's called social currency.
what you do behind the Instagram. That, or you can buy followers.
Yep. I did that.
You
did that. Yeah, when
Why?
I was I think I was 17 when I first started diving into social media.
Oh.
No, I
experimenting.
I introduced the concept to myself when I was 17, but it actually happened I believe freshman year in college. Takashi Murakami, one of my favorite artists, he had reposted one of my pictures.
I remember that.
And a whole bunch of people started following me at once. So I devised this elaborate scheme that I'm gonna purchase followers while this is happening, right? So that way it'll look natural, right? And I was like, and when people see I have all these followers and Murakami reposted my stuff, they're gonna think that I'm really out here and I'm really doing this, and that's gonna generate more real people following me. But it didn't work. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I thought it would, right? And this was my
not a bad plan. No, this not bad. Not bad plan.
No, I thought it was genius. I was like, this is genius. And I'm gonna blow up off of this, and I'm gonna go to Japan. I'm gonna work for him as an intern, and I'm gonna be the next great. I'm gonna be the next great artist. I was really thinking that way. And
that's what everyone thinks like.
Yeah, but it's unrealistic, right? So you can't expect someone like let's say for me, I was betting all my eggs on this one thing happening. Murakami is gonna he's gonna fly me out for free. He's gonna just allow me to just live in his house with him. He's gonna, you know what I mean? And I was very young, very naive, and you know, this was only a few years ago, but I regret that now, because now I have all these followers, right, that are fake. There's a lot of fake followers, and I can't get rid of them. And I'm trying to engage with the real followers, but it's hard because I keep getting all these fake followers.
Simple.
But you know what I'm saying? And it's like I
yourself.
can't. Yeah, I did it to myself, and I can't get rid of it. And this is my
can't you
main
get rid
social
of it?
media site. Well, what I could do to get rid of those followers, I can't have anyone unfollow me. Like, these are bots, right? I can't just go and have these people unfollow me by asking
Like,
them
you're
to
no
or
longer
anything.
addicted to seeing the number of followers.
I'm no like
they're fake.
I'm done with that. Like, I got that all out of my system. So now it's a thing of I could block every single one of them, but there's 11,000 of them. I'm not about to spend my time going and trying to block these people. So honestly, I was waiting for Instagram to come up with a feature to get, because they did it before, where they were like there was a bunch of celebrities who had mad fake followers, where they
got exposed.
Yeah, they deleted all those bot accounts. And then they had, you know, their numbers started going down. So I was waiting for Instagram to do that again, but I'm afraid that my account might get banned. You know what I mean? Because there is a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that I put into actually building up a real following, but I don't know what my real following is. It's weird. It's this weird. I'm in this weird space right now.
The irony
But yeah.
is for your exposure of your art. Wow. Is it?
I'm sorry.
Like, why do you have that Instagram? Is it for your like business? Or
Yes, yeah. My business is it's called Your Idea is Amazing, and it's basically a design solutions company. So I design solutions, logo designs, textures, album covers, all that stuff. And I've used it. I worked with so many different people off of that one Instagram, and I don't want to lose my network.
That's your brain.
Honestly,
Yeah.
like, why would you want to delete it? It's just like how celebrities have a whole bunch of people follow them. They don't know who they are.
That's true. The only thing is, it's weird because let's say I have 11.4 thousand followers, but I only get 60 likes on a post.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's
so
like,
it's kind of like a facade.
and now when people see that, because they understand a lot of the stuff that's going on, you know, they're like, oh, this guy's fake, you know, right off the bat, and then they move on. And it's hurting my brain. It's not helping me at all. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
You're looking at the overall ratio of the engagement, and then also I noticed something about like the people with the largest amount of followers. Only about 10 to 20% of their actual followers are engaging with their content, be it leaving comments or liking things.
Yeah.
So whether these are active users, ghost users, bots, or anything like that. So you're diminishing yourself further. So let's say you're getting, traditionally if you had that many followers and they're real people, you're getting your 10 to 20%. But with these bots now, you might be getting like 5 to 10%.
Yeah.
So that's what's causing a problem for you.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, that's where we at.
Which is what everyone goes through, and people get addicted, which kind of goes into like, you know.
Back to earlier what we were talking about, because I was addicted to the likes. Listen, when Murakami followed me, no, this is no lie. This was a crazy experience for me. It happened early in the morning. When he followed me, he DM'd me, and he reposted it, right? And he tagged me. So my Instagram was going crazy. Like, it was literally from sun up to sundown. Followers, follow, like.
Someone famous that likes you, and you think, what is that word that everyone uses?
Cosign?
No.
Clout?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, I was on a high.
That
bro.
is probably another topic to talk about with slang that people talk about now. But
I was on a high, and I was like, this is it.
It's like a whole
I
nother
need
ego.
this. Yeah, I was like, I need this. This is like, you know, and also I was never like really, really popular in high school, and I was always like kind of the nerdy guy, and I was into anime and drawing pictures on the
Nothing
desk and
wrong with
stuff.
that.
You know, which is nothing wrong with it, but like in my head, my perception of myself was I had low self-esteem,
You had to
right?
love
So
yourself.
I needed the outside validation. I want the likes. I want somebody to tell me that my art is good. You know, that's how I was feeling.
You want the feedback.
That was
I
the
need
recognition you were craving.
But
Yeah.
honestly, you kind of you need the. Well, actually, there's some rappers that probably don't even listen to other rappers or like don't listen to other music, because then it starts to influence how they would actually do their own flow, I guess. So I guess like for you, like you don't look at other artists to be inspired. You just do your own thing.
Yeah.
You just
But
make
you
it
still
up in your
appreciate
head.
other artists.
Yeah.
It's just not when you're in a creative space. If you want to say, "Oh, I want to create something today," I'm gonna go look at with my homeboy who's also an artist. I'm not gonna look at what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you kind of like isolate yourself in your creative process.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You have to do that. Yeah.
Devin, what you think?
Art is not really my forte. I'm one of those guys where if I like it, I like it. I'm not too profound on or knowledgeable on many artists. I really don't understand why a lot of art costs as much as it does, but nevertheless I understand it. So I think if we dive right into the question to get the actual answer, I think art essentially could go one or two ways, to where art can provide innovation in the same way technology can, to where like somebody is moved or touched by that art in a way that they choose to be. Like sometimes it's not always about the art and the artist, it's about how the receiver perceives that art. Like I'm a big proponent of separating the art from the artist. Like really what that artist does, I really don't care. What is said in that 4 minute, in that 4 minute song, or whatever's on that blank, whatever they put on that blank canvas, or however that poem is written, that's my only concern. I don't care about what they did, this, that, and third. And part of that, it could be controversial because you appreciating the art in itself, from the outside looking in, that looks like I also support what that artist is about, and I might not know anything about that artist. And I think the best way you could like put this is Hitler was a great artist, but what he stood for was anarchy in a sense. Artist. No, he was a really good artist.
I like his work.
He's a really good. I like his work as well. He's a really good artist from my point of view. But at the same time, like how do I think it could be negative? I think it becomes negative in propaganda because that's when it becomes divisive. And anytime you deal with divisiveness, you're kind of like stripping a lot of like what people believe in. Like they're no longer believing in what they believe in as like a person. They're believing in what they see or perceive to be true from what they see on news or pamphlets or this, that, and the third, or newspapers.
They're weaponizing it for a reason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like art, like I said, it could be very innovative. It could spark somebody's mind. It allows them to think in another perspective, like try and put themselves in that artist's shoes, like what they were going through, what was their mood, what was the aura, the vibe when they actually did this. Or it could be that negative, I'm going to use my art to either like boost my following, to support,
potentially like trash someone's campaign or
exactly.
something like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm a political science major, so when I think of art, the first thing that comes to my mind is propaganda. But then at the same time, it's like, there's art is so much more diverse and, full than just propaganda. Like, when I think of propaganda, I think of like the cartoon strips and,
right. Like during World War II, they had
posters.
Like actually,
yeah.
Dr. Seuss, Stan Lee, and the guy who created Looney Tunes, they all worked together during the First World War, doing propaganda for the United States Army.
Really?
That's how they got their start.
That's crazy. I did not know that. R.I.P. to Stanley.
So you said you said from your standpoint of art, you appreciate the art form in itself, separate from the context, which is great. That's the same way I view it too. But and you said that with doing that, you run the risk of people thinking that you support certain artists.
Yeah,
given
like what his external views are from that art.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Kanye West comes. Like, how I've like molded my mind is what other people think, or what other people think that I think.
Doesn't matter. It's superfluous.
The art of not caring.
Yeah.
So why can't? Sorry, go ahead.
Nah, I was just gonna say I like Kanye West's music, and I like him as a person, even though I've never met him. But I'm not putting on a hat.
So why can't more people take this approach and separate a person's actions and their character from their body of work?
What we were talking about on the first
And
question.
ignorance.
That's true, but they don't know you either, and like
Your actual attention.
Because look, for example, like a very recent example was R. Kelly. So when all the documentary came out, we don't have to talk about it.
Let me redact what I said before because I did not stand for anything R. Kelly. Nah.
Oh man.
But I'm saying
R.
like
Kelly got
people were fanatics and enjoyed his music,
Yeah.
and then this stuff comes out and they're saying that they don't like the song. It's like, no, you still like the song. You don't like him.
Yeah.
You detest what he stands for and everything that he did.
Mm.
But
A lot of-
you know, it's for you to just bash the music and the artwork that you
Yeah.
liked previously. That's just asinine.
It is.
Yeah.
A lot of people like are ignorant because Keith Sweat said a lot of questionable. Like, you may be young, but you're ready. Like,
Yeah.
there was a lot of questionable stuff being said
Mm.
in '90s R&B rap,
Mhm.
and it's kind of like because it's brought to the spotlight, people care. Like, you know, you don't associate yourself with it, but you, like, in high school, you knew the seniors that were preying on the freshmen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in college, the super seniors preying on the freshmen. 24-year-olds preying on 18-year-olds. Like, yes, they are of legal age, but mentally and physically, y'all are not on the same playing field.
More
You've
susceptible.
gone through all those experiences, so you now know you're using their own ignorance against them, and you know pretty much what needs to be said, what needs to be done, and then you're in there.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas that person might not have gone through the same experiences. They haven't gone through that rejection, and they haven't gone through that acceptance yet. So they're just doing things on the fly, and you are pretty much using their ignorance to how things are against them.
It's because you learned all these lessons
Yeah.
that they haven't gone through yet.
Yep.
And I guess that's kind of goes to putting a lot of pressure on like young people. Like, let them go through what they go through, but it's more of like guidance versus telling them what to do.
And that's important for parenting too.
So you're saying that people alright. So you said that people should still listen to his R. Kelly's music?
If you liked the music before, and I mean, if you decide to stop listening to it, make a political statement, sure, that's fine by you. But I don't see why you can't enjoy the artwork by itself and separate it from his character.
What if the
At the
artwork
same-
directly correlates with the?
At the same time,
Well,
though,
then at
like,
that
people have
point-
been knowledgeable of R. Kelly and what R. Kelly does.
Right.
I knew over a
Exactly.
decade.
So-
I knew that.
People
I
now
never liked
see
this
like,
music.
oh my God, all these women are coming out. Well, I mean,
It's
people have been
it's
coming
kind of
out.
like a lot of hip hop music glorifying violence and certain things, right?
Mhm.
And then, like, even with 6ix9ine, right? So like he talks about a lot of the stuff that he did, and
Or didn't do.
or didn't.
It's
do.
questionable.
You know, who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what if any of this stuff is true,
snitching.
like the music artist said. But if you liked it, and then now I've seen this before where people they quote the lyrics and stuff, and then when they get caught, they's like, bro, he's stupid. Why did he really do that?
Mhm.
And this is like a totally different thing than what we were talking about. But I never understood that. Like, how can you listen to his songs? You know exactly what he's talking about.
Mhm.
He's talking about shooting people. He's talking about he's in the gang. He's doing X, Y, and Z. And you're yelling the song at the top of your
And you're fine with it then.
and you're fine with it. But when he gets caught, and now you're like, oh, this guy's an idiot. I can't believe he did that. He shot somebody. That's crazy. Like, this, he needs to be in jail, or like, you know, free 6ix9ine or like whatever. I never understood that.
But you see, music is also an art form too. So like some people who are more masterful and actually use their talent to like tell a story. For example, like J. Cole, like Tale of Two Cities, when he's talking about robbing the dude for his watch. I don't think he actually did that, but he's saying like not everything in the music realm it also contains a lot of fiction.
That's true.
Yeah, it's not always implied that it's truthful. It's not always autobiographical.
The thing is, though, people who use the perspective that you're talking about, even if you don't support that music, the violence is still going to happen. It's not like, you know, you supporting that music that talks about shooting and killing this, that, and the third funds the lifestyle for this.
I think the issue is that it sends it on a trend, whether it continues it, whether, you know, your kids are going to hear it, then, I can go out and
You're
sell
saying it makes it
drugs.
acceptable.
Yeah, I can go out and sell drugs, whatever, and then their kids hear it. Oh, yeah, I mean, hey, my dad did this. Let's go out, do the same thing. But I think that's where it was coming from as far as...
I mean, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about, like, all right, let's say I like Pusha T, right?
Yeah.
He talks about selling drugs all the time, and it's real. You know, there are actual accounts of this in Virginia. You can look it up. You know, you can see how much they sold. You know, like, yeah.
Push.
He's one of my favorite rappers, right?
Yeah.
But I would never go and say, and
Listening to Pusha T motivated you to go out and sell drugs.
I'm not gonna do it. That's not what I do.
In interviews, he's also said what separates him is because people talk about all you talk about is drug rap, but he says he's also knowledgeable enough to know what he's doing, and he shows you both sides of the game. So what the positive happened, and also the risk. He's lost people around him. Yeah, so he talks about the entire story.
Yeah.
Versus glorifying it.
Yeah, but I'm more so talking about people who listen to something and they act like they're unaware of what they're talking about, and when it comes to light, they act like the artist is wrong. I can't describe. I don't know how to describe this. Like, the artist, I can't believe that they actually did this in real life, even though.
Listen to him say it.
Yeah, I can't describe it the way in my head. It makes sense in my head, but I'm not.
So people hear it and run with it rather than thinking on their own.
You think that it's fiction, but then when it's actually true, you're shocked.
Nah, they know it's real. I can't describe it. It's one of those things. There's a disconnect. Like, I think sometimes I can't articulate my thoughts completely.
Can you use it? Like, give us examples. So let's say you're a gangster rapper, right?
Okay.
You have a song you talk about shooting someone, right?
Right.
I'm a fan of yours. I'm listening to you.
Okay.
And I'm shocked when I hear that you actually shoot somebody in the news. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but more so than that, after it happens, now they want to revolt against said artists because of the fact that they shot somebody, even though they knew from the jump that they did that, and they quoted that, and they celebrated.
So you're against people acting surprised.
Yeah, I don't.
To their music or what they're saying in their music.
I think people need to start. We understand what's happening, and we know what we're doing,
And they're, like,
but people
shocked.
won't acknowledge their own demons or their own I love Pusha T's music.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not shocked when I hear that somebody died around it, or whenever they really sold something, and somebody's life was destroyed by cocaine. I don't think that makes me a bad person, right?
No.
I just think that I'm acknowledging a truth, right? I'm self-aware. Everybody has a dark side.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, like, I just think that people really, I don't know how to describe this. People start taking responsibility for.
They're not being wise consumers.
True. Yeah.
You're saying that people need to analyze themselves before they analyze somebody else.
Right. Yeah. In a nutshell, thank you. And I don't know why I couldn't, thank you. All right. But, yeah. Mm.
But it's easier to analyze other people than it is to analyze yourself.
That's true. But it's important, though.
Yeah,
you have to learn how to do that,
Analyze, jump to conclusions.
Like with the Chris Brown thing.
Right.
Jump to
And then the Bow Wow situation was the exact reverse of it,
man.
which is crazy. Did you
Create
see
your own scenario.
the way that they showed the pictures?
Yeah.
So like in the Chris Brown situation, even though he had damage as well, sustained damage, they didn't show his picture. They just showed Rihanna's picture. But with the Bow Wow situation, they showed his picture with the two Wolverine slash marks across his face.
That's crazy.
But they didn't show her picture. Her picture, she has a clean face. She doesn't have any signs of damage or anything like that. Not saying what happened. I don't know. I wasn't there. But I'm just saying like the media perception and what pictures they chose to display. It was so hard. Like Bow Wow's pictures all over the internet. But I had to actually dig and search to find one with a side-by-side comparison of him and her. Which is completely intentional.
Yeah.
If you think that that's like some coincidence, you're an idiot. Because it's not. It's intentional.
I wish that we could live in a world where news would be completely objective, but it's impossible.
So, Microsoft is working on that.
Really?
Yeah, going towards the next election, they're trying to have some kind of service where they filter us like a 5-tier system for for a net browser. So you have like green, which is a verified source of basic information, and then like blue means something different, purple means something different, gray is like a
They also have AI where you can have videos and pretend you're someone else.
The Obama speeches. Have y'all ever seen those fake Obama speeches?
Yeah.
It looks real.
Oh my gosh. That's so scary.
That's a whole nother.
We don't have to talk about that now, but they can make me during this podcast say something completely different using my voice and every word that I said and generate a new sentence and make it match my. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm really scared for a lot of this stuff in the future. But yeah, sorry, that was off
No, you're
topic.
fine.
But,
Yeah, that's how Tupac came out of his new albums. But
They sat there and painstakingly
I didn't even register.
Pieced it together. Yeah.
I'll live you.
Oh.
I'll live you. I'll live you here, man. Okay. Yeah, that's it.
Move that back.
Yeah, we got that.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Now we got time with the hologram.
Oh my god.
But are you guys switching? Like, are you guys actually saying that artists can be hurtful to society? Are you guys saying that?
Oh. No, I was saying that from the jump. Like, I think that
Okay.
it could go either way depending on
Yeah.
the
Okay.
person.
Okay. I'm mainly talking to Bryan then. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Am I flipping it?
So art can be hurtful.
I recognize a way in which it can be, yes.
Okay.
At first I was saying I didn't see how, but I was strictly thinking my path of trajectory was more along the lines of, visual art. And I said propaganda, but then I started thinking more about like once Leigh Anne started speaking about writing and then Matt, about music. That opened my eyes up, and it got me off that strict path. And
I
started
think you
thinking
had
other ways.
just put art in like a nutshell. You didn't
Yeah.
expand it.
Exactly.
Yeah, because the actual definition of art is so broad, because a lot of stuff now can be considered art,
And that's crazy how I was talking about all these different avenues how art is expressed, but once we start talking in the podcast, it's like,
I was like, no,
Picasso.
sir. My
Yeah,
thing
right.
was, I was going to ask you to repeat it, but I felt like it would have been irrelevant because we had already divulged into that topic.
right.
Because you had said it, and I was like, what? You only talk about like painting.
No, I said my definition was confounded to the constraints of being like visual art and stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's what I meant. Like,
Okay.
Painting.
Yeah, but then I said, like, not necessarily pertaining. That definition doesn't pertain to writing and.
oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
gotcha.
there was like a counter part to it.
True. He did say that.
Does anybody else want to add anything before we wrap up
We're good.
about art?
Appreciate
She
you
look like
guys
she
for coming
about to
on with
fall
us.
over.
Yeah,
for
thanks.
having us.
She about to fall
Thank
over.
you for
in this.
having us. Yeah.
I feel sick.
But what do you guys think, though? What benefits does art provide in society? Is it hurtful in society? What do you guys think? Has there been any art that's been harmful to you? Has it not been? Just positive? Let us know, okay? Comment below. But as Bryan said, thank you guys for coming out. Miss Leigh Anne, Miss Matt, didn't want to make myself your name.
Miss Matt.
And then he goes down the field.
Mr. Matt.
The sheer amount of disrespect and asking, he's like, I'm never coming back. This is the last time.
This is the worst podcast experience I've ever had. Now,
Like, dislike.
right. All the negative
Unsubscribe.
comments is gonna be from me.
He gonna sick his 11,000 followers on us.
Bots. What's in the bots?
Oh my goodness. But
So we wrapping up, but every podcast we finish it off with my album of the week. Last week it was The Life of Pablo, talking about separating the artist from the art.
I was thinking that too when you said Kanye West. I was like, just gotta.
But
You're
my
mad.
album of the week is Volume 2 by Dom Kennedy. If y'all know who Dom Kennedy is, y'all will appreciate it. If not, then he's a West
that an
Coast
album or a mixtape?
Volume 2. This album.
Oh.
So you can find it on Apple Music. It might not be what you're into, but nevertheless, it's what I'm currently listening to.
Word.
Check it out.
Word.
But yeah, as you know, my name is Joshua Freeman. You can find me on Instagram, Joshua VS Society. Bryan, where can they find you?
Instagram, Bry Almighty, BRY_Almighty_.
Leigh Anne, where can they find you?
It's a long name, so LeighAnnenei. I changed it recently, so
On what platform?
on Instagram.
I'm Yaya Design on everything. YIIA Design and YayaDesign.com.
Desmond.
Oh, yeah. Did you have something?
If you want photography, visual.fx. There you go.
They do
You
my
can find-
photos too.
You can find me on Snapchat and Apple Music at DopEitsDes. DOPEITSDES.
But yeah, you heard it here. We'll see you next time. Peace.